Stanford University.
Okay, so now my next hat is I am the first speaker. That was my introduction. My name is Christopher Gardner. I have a PhD in nutrition science. I'm part of the Stanford Prevention Research Center. And I work with a fabulous group of people who are foodies. And we are going to share our foodie thoughts with you. And I titled my talk, Food Revolution. So here is a blur of slides for you. Why a food revolution? It could actually have been a paradigm shift or a social movement, but revolution just sounded more action-oriented. So I went for revolution. And why now? Well, the burden of chronic disease is crippling our healthcare system with a lot of preventable diseases that could be addressed, not completely, but partially with important lifestyle changes. And obviously, diet is one of those. The obesity epidemic is a portion of that healthcare crisis. But really, what we're coming to recognize is how many of those food-related issues are tied to the health and the environment and politics. So we've got a lot of issues going on. So it's a moment of opportunity and a moment of crisis. We really have to act. Things are going wrong. We have a broken food system going on here, which I thought Pizarro captured in this cartoon here about the world trying to support all the plastic toys and the fast food. And the poor Earth is getting tired. So I think we have to give the Earth a break and come up with a more sustainable way to do this. We've got 1 billion hungry and not getting enough to eat, and 1 billion overweight. It seems like there's a lot of food here. It's not getting distributed properly. There's economic and political issues. So this is a systems problem. This is really complicated. We need to bring a lot of people in to address this systems problem. And another reason why this is a good time now is we have some better speakers and better voices than we've had in the past to raise up consciousness. So I don't know how many of you saw last week's or the week before, the New York Times Magazine. They now every year do a food issue. And that's the cover of the recent food issue with Michael Pollan writing about Prop 37 and Mark Bittman talking about the destruction of the soil in the Central Valley that produces more than 50% of the produce for the entire country. So that's why now. Why Stanford? Well, I think it's because we have this fabulous opportunity because of where we are and who we're hooked up with. So think of this area culturally, all the amazing cultural heritage that we have, all the food knowledge, the wisdom we have at our fingertips, Ethiopian, Chinese, Asian, Latin American, Mexican. Oh, there's just a wealth of resources here in terms of culture. So geographically, think how beautifully we are positioned. So there's Stanford at the middle of the universe right there, at least in California, right? The whole Central Valley is near us. We've got this fabulous speaker today. Supervisor Yeager has been proposing some of the most innovative legislation in the country that's starting to take off across the country. There's those Santa Clara folks in the back. Thank you very much for coming. We've got all the innovators in the Silicon Valley. We've got all the money of the venture capitalists on Sand Hill Road. We've got the very progressive Bay Area of people really thinking and willing to do new things. And for anybody who's never seen Greystone Castle in St. Helena, where the CIA is, that's another fabulous resource right at our door. I don't know how many of you saw this a couple of weeks ago in the New York Times, front page. New policy. Kids are getting healthier food at schools, and they're throwing it away. Oh, how discouraging. Oh, how hard. Oh, this is so hard. You know what? It's too hard. I think we should just go for the triple bypass and the chemotherapy and amputating the diabetic limbs and all that. Because that school food thing, getting kids to eat better, that's really, really hard. Come on, man up, everybody. This is a tough problem. You can't just make legislation and expect the kids to eat it. It's a big environmental issue, and we can do this. How are we going to do it? We're going to blame the individuals because they didn't listen to our health messages? We really know that health education has a minimal impact at this point. And we know that yelling at the food industry for making the wrong kind of food, that doesn't go very far either because it's capitalism. They're making money. And we could yell at the legislation for not making enough policy. Yeager's doing his best, but it hasn't swept the country yet. But that all seems unproductive to do all that blaming. So a more solution-oriented approach, we think, is to attack food systems. So think of, I'm not sure if that word captures it. I've been debating this with a number of people, and I'm open to anybody who wants to discuss it today. But for food systems, think of all the innovators we have right in this room today and your neighbors who are dealing with different food. They create demand by buying lots of food, and then they serve lots of people. Or in case of the food bank, they get lots of food donated, and they serve lots of people. What if we can change those food systems instead of the other way? We can change demand and supply that way. And that's one of the things that we're after globally in terms of food justice, too. So if you think academically, we have been having a blast recognizing that there are foodies in all 7 schools on the Stanford campus. So some of them are represented here today. We do have people from all 7 schools of Stanford, and the D School, of which Deborah Dunn and Matt Roth are from, is part of engineering, and the Woods Institute for the Environment, and food security in the environment, and even Stanford Dining is a great resource. So academically, we just have this incredible resource of interdisciplinary folks willing to do this. And at 11:30 to 12:30, if you go to the other end of the hall and see some of the community partners that we are starting to work with, that you're going to hear speak today, there are some fabulous folks in our area that are just outside of our doors. And if we team up with some of these folks and test what they're doing and publish and disseminate and replicate, it seems that that's an area that we could make a lot of progress in the near future. And you'll see our students are interested in it. Some of our students came to me last year and asked if I would champion a minor in food systems for them with a health track, an ag track, and a policy track. And you're going to hear some more about education from Deborah in just a few minutes. But if you go to the posters from 11:30 to 12:30, you'll find foodies, again, from our students in disciplines from all over campus. All different angles, and that's what this food systems issue is going to take. It's going to take a lot of different creative thoughts coming together. So if you saw Mark Bittman just a couple of days ago, he wrote this article about the Central Valley. He's been walking up and down and seeing how the soil's being depleted, and he wrote this really compelling article just the other day. And I just wanted to highlight what he thought was important, is that there's new research to show that there's a compelling reason to do things differently. And that's what Stanford does. Stanford does compelling research. And that's what we could do to help move this all forward. So I think in the end, what we really, I know this seems grandiose and ambitious, but I think we could change, we can contribute to this movement that's changing the food environment, changing the food culture, changing, dare we say, social norms. Can we piggyback on seat belts and bike helmets and condoms and things like that, cigarettes? There's a public health approach, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So let's not get discouraged. It's a good fight, and we're in it. So we are proposing, now this is our 3rd food summit, and we still have a lot of momentum. We are proposing something like a Center for Education and Research in Food Systems. We had it another way for a while, but Deborah said this way was better because at least it was SCRFs. The other way it was unintelligible because it had the E at the end. So at the moment, if anybody wants to help us with an acronym, for now it's SCRFs, but we'll see what happens over time. And our bold vision statement is to create a world-class teaching and research institute that addresses the broken food system. Because the Blackie Foundation and Ray Stewart and Lou Pappas have helped us in the last year, we got donations, we got pilot funding, we put out requests, we got multidisciplinary teams, and that's what you're going to hear today. Thanks to the Blackie family. Heather and Willie, are you here yet? They're not here. Lou and Ray, are you here yet? Okay, we have to tell them later that I acknowledge them. All right? So we're doing research. That's another thing we want to build on today. For anybody who's excited, community groups that want to write a grant with us, or any donors out there that think this is a worthy cause, we need some pilot funding to get this started, to link up community partners and multidisciplinary teams of academics. And that's what we're here for. That's what our objective is, and we're going to share that with you. And I didn't think that slide was going to show. Sorry, I should have warned you. I'm at the end of my talk, and now it's Deborah's talk, and I think we're going to switch computers because I was trying to end on a research note, but I want Deborah to start on the education note. Please welcome Deborah Dunn from the D School and my great partner.
Thank you, Christopher.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.